If you haven't addressed your deficiencies, please do it as soon as possible, as long as possible before you plant. I would suggest that you would want to be putting on your soluble things like sulfamag and potassium sulfate, things like that, after the snow is melted. You can put things on like trace elements the day you plant, if you know, or before you cultivate the soil, even shallowly, and probably be fine. You know, it's just from my perspective, the more time things have to digest and become available, the better. You can put all your rock minerals down in the spring. You can put your rock phosphate down and your green sand and your limestone down in the spring. You're not going to really see the results of that until the fall. In my experience, it's only when the fall weather change happens and things start to green up again that you really see that shift that you were expecting all growing season. If you're putting your raw rock minerals in the spring, it just takes a little while for them to digest and become bioavailable. It's a process. It takes time. There's ways to speed it up if you're nuanced with compost and all that kind of stuff. But if you just put those raw rocks on, they're not gonna. My experience is that you don't see those results immediately. It takes a few months. So that's why we start the course in the fall and say take your soil test in the fall and do your mineral balancing in the fall, because then you're in position for the spring. Always apply minerals with a carbon source like humates or compost or biochar. Especially the soluble ones. This really should say soluble. Salts burn the soil. If you have any question what the effect of a salt is going to be on life, get some earthworms and put some salt in there and sit and watch them. Right? I mean, there's a reason why people don't like salts, and then why we are concerned about them. So the way you can get the benefit, as in what's in them, without the detriment, which is the burning, is you can buffer them with a carbon source. So you can mix them with humates, mix them with biochar, mix them with compost. The more sophisticated things you can do are to solubilize the copper sulfate or whatever it is into water and mix humates into that water, or mix some molasses into that water. Or if you've got some biochar, you can put a bucket full of biochar. You can pour your copper sulfate water into the bucket of biochar, and the copper sulfate will get tied into those biochar pores. It'll be held, and then it won't have that burning function. There's all kinds of really interesting, creative, cool things you can do that are pretty low tech once you understand the concepts of what you're up to. The concept is that copper is critical, zinc is critical, boron is critical. A lot of these things are critical, and until you know which rock dust source to get them from, the easiest thing to do is to buy them in a bag. And they're soluble salts. They're concentrated soluble salts, which are potentially toxic in high doses. And so you want to figure out how to ameliorate that effect, but while still making them available to the system. So molasses is a carbon source. Sugar is a carbon source. That's got, basically you can put the trace elements in the water, the Epsom salt in the water, the potassium sulfate in the water, and then you put liquid humates or molasses or sugar or anything like that in, and that'll functionally bind the salts. It'll hold them so they don't leach, and it's got a food source attached to it, which means the soil life is going to be likely to want to eat it, and so you can rapidly inspire soil life to take that copper and digest it. If it's attached to molasses, they're going to be feeling inspired about that, right? That's like what they're looking for plus food, right there all in one little package.